that's also another nice little bonus.
Absolutely, and of course the boots make things go a little bit quicker for our runners as we get started here in Link's house. Let's see what Link's house holds for Link as his uncle makes his exit to his untimely death here.
That looks like 100 rupees, which that's pretty nice because you don't need to worry so much when you get to Kakariko if you need to buy bombs or something like that.
Absolutely, having that early 100 rupee drop is very helpful, especially for bottle vendor. We have that; we can use it for that, and of course you can stash away for Zora later. So I'm sure they're happy to see that 100 rupee drop.
Yep, and then pretty shortly we're going to see what item Uncle will give us. And so that'll kind of flavor the beginning of this run. And it's the Cane of Samaria. Well, I think every match I've commentated has had the Cane of Samaria. So I don't know what that means.
I've seen a lot of really creative use of that cane in this tournament, and some people really know how to maneuver it well to take out enemies. So I'm excited to see what these two runners, how they can maneuver that item.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun actually. A lot of neat things you can do with that weapon. Maybe if you only play the game casually, it doesn't mean that much to you, but once you see some of the strats that you can use, it's actually a very potent weapon.
I would say both runners probably took a huge sigh of relief. I know that when I see a bombs opening, I know that there's a little difficulty up ahead. So I think having the cane, though having its own difficulties, won't be quite as challenging, quite as trying as having a bombs opening.
Right. With bombs, it's kind of like a dance that you have to do with the enemies, and unless you practice that a lot, it can be pretty tough. So just a 5 arrow capacity upgrade in that first chest. And
So
these, oh yeah, these enemies, these runners are gonna want to farm enemies to try and pick up a bomb so that they can open up the final area in the under the cathedral, so they can get the 3 items without having to come back.
Absolutely, and getting an early bomb pickup from an enemy will also help with the several locations in Kakariko Village. I know that both of them are hoping that perhaps that will be the case.
Indeed, it makes things a lot easier, especially if you get it early. Then you don't have to worry about it.
Of course, getting the cane early also helps the runners in having to avoid looking for it when they perhaps have to do Misery Mire later, and it also is very helpful in Ice Palace. So I'm sure that that is putting a little bit of relief into them, and hopefully we'll see what we get as we enter the very area, the rich item dense area of Kakariko. But of course, we have the escape first.
Right. The thing is about the Cane of Samaria, it's not immediately useful. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Now, Mire and Total Rock could be pendants, and maybe we won't want to have seen that cane, but we'll just have to see how this seed plays out.
Absolutely. Sometimes that cane is a harbinger of doom. So we'll see what happens in terms of the split of the pendant versus crystal dungeons, and hopefully that cane isn't a horn of warning for these runners of something that's to come that they don't want to do.
Right. We see exitzero heading back up, and so we'll be heading right back into the cathedral in a short bit. Now, a lot of runners opt to take the left way here, which makes sense because exitzero is opting not to try and hit those enemies with pots. That's something I would usually take a moment of my time to do if I have 0 bombs, but speed is everything, so.
And perhaps they're hoping to, hopefully exitzero might be hoping to see some bombs in that the escape, the back half of escape before they get to the item location there. So perhaps that's his strategy. We'll see what's to come.
Right, there are plenty of enemies that you can destroy with the Cane of Samaria in the sewer here. Like, there are a bunch of snakes and rats and things, but still there's no guarantee. I believe I'm not sure, but I think you can just get a bad seed that just doesn't have any bomb drops here. which can be a pain. But I've only had that happen to me a few times.
The back of Escape is one of those areas that once you sort of start to progress on in the seed and you haven't done it yet, sometimes it can slip from your memory. But exitzero is getting that early blue tunic pickup, which is blue mail pickup, which is really helpful, especially as you get into the Dark World, especially if an early Dark World entry. So I'm sure he's very happy about that.
Yeah, it certainly makes things early on a lot easier, and it can afford a little bit of bravery, so that you can head in that Dark World and not worry so much about murder dactyls and things.
Khanster needing to be a little bit careful. He's down to 1 heart, but with the blue mail, it shouldn't be too challenging for him, and we're getting toward the latter half of the Escape as it is.
There are also a fair number of hearts that can be picked up around here. I guess he's opting not to do that, but there's like one in that room specifically, but it's not a big deal. It's pretty easy to not get hit by these enemies. And they don't do that much damage to begin with, so...
Right, well, exitzero is exiting now the Escape and into the Sanctuary, so we'll see what the Sanctuary holds. It just a big 20, so he's going to likely move on. Perhaps checking Aghanim Ledge and the Lost Woods.
Yeah, I imagine he'll be heading on to Kakariko, but we'll see if he makes this detour. I don't know if the Lumberjack Cave, checking it out early, is a great strategy, but it can be a load off your mind or kind of put you into a mode where you know what you need to do early, so... Looks like the Hoarder is only dropping arrows. That's not usually what you want to see. The tree pull has bombs, though.
Oh, that was a lucky tree pull for exitzero, so he's got some bombs down for Kakariko. And he is going to check that Lumberjack Cave to see if Aghanim is required, and hopefully putting that out of his mind for now.
Just money up there, so not yet, at least. Now, these runners will need to find a glove upgrade before they can check out the underneath the cathedral for those 3 chests. I imagine they'll head there as soon as they get them, so that they don't forget. It's pretty easy to do.
Well, despite the bomb scarcity in Escape, certainly there's a lot of bombs to be found as exitzero is making his way through the Lost Woods.
I imagine these runners are probably thinking, why couldn't these have happened, like, earlier? So exitzero's heading right into Kakariko Village, I'd imagine, and probably see a bunch of items here, which will probably, we'll get an idea of where we need to go and what to do first in the seed. Because right now, it's kind of, everything's just kind of closed off still.
And the blessing of the curse is when the seed starts to open up, we have, as a runner, you have a lot more decisions to make. So we'll likely see these runners' paths diverge as we get more items to open up this seed, and we'll see how it diverges and obviously how it puts the runners in different standing.
Well, we have the hook shot that can tell us a few things. Oh, and Quake. That's interesting. So that hook shot, that might mean, that we need to make a Death Mountain play. That might mean that we'll have some trolley Dark World shenanigans going on. We'll just have to see how that plays out. It might mean nothing at all, actually.
Well, the nice thing about the hook shot is it does take out those mini Moldarms very handily, and it also is a nice stun item when you don't have a sword this early. I'd say the hook shot is pretty well appreciated by a lot of runners.
The hook shot is my favorite item in the game, actually. Just the fact that it's a decent weapon, it stuns enemies, like you said, and also you can use it to move around when you don't have the boots pretty effectively. It's a nice little prize.
Well, it looks like exitzero did find Bombos in the Kakariko well, so that is 2 pendants for us now, 2 medallions rather for us now. So that puts our 67% chance that we are all set on the 2 medallion dungeons in play.
Oh, and Bottle Seller has the glove, so that's nice to have that out of the way. Not having the glove is one of the worst things in the early game.
Absolutely, and it can really close off, and it does close off that entry into the Dark World.
And we got Titan's Mitts at about 10 minutes, 10 seconds.
So, you know, barring the Moon Pearl, we have Dark World access now. So once we find that Moon Pearl, we'll see if any of these runners make an early dip into the Dark World.
Yes, it's interesting to see because you can dip into the Dark World early, like right out of Kakariko, or you can continue to clear out some of the other options available to us, like the Southern Shore, the Mini Moldorm Cave, and you know, which way makes the most sense? Well, whichever way has the most progression items, really, because until we start getting things that lead us places, you know, we're kind of being led everywhere, essentially.
exitzero doing an early blind race game, which you don't see all too often outside of, I saw it a lot in Key Sanity mode, but doing hoping, I'm sure, for an item as he goes ahead and executes that race game.
And it's a big heart, which he's opting to take, which I can't blame him, because early on, especially with Dark World access, pretty close, probably, you know, you want to take advantage of that, probably.
Absolutely, having those hearts early on, especially when now you do have Dark World access and that becomes a viable option. You know, if it's not way out of your way, picking up hearts is not a bad idea.
Indeed, especially when you just have 3. So, no one wants to go through the game on 3 hearts, unless you absolutely have to. Like you're some sort of show-off or something, I don't know.
Looks like Khanster's also going to opt to pick up that heart and pad his health for his eventual entry into the Dark World and, of course, his continued exploration of Light World Hyrule.
Mm-hmm. And there's the Moon Pearl, so we now have Dark World access. But we only have access to West Dark World. So exitzero heading to the Mini Moldorm Cave. We'll get to see what we get from the 5 item locations here. And taking out that hook shot, which will make short work of these Mini Moldorms.
No map check yet, so we don't know what's a crystal and what's a pendant quite yet. So that will most likely dictate their next move, because once you clear out Mini Moldorm Cave, the item dense locations become scarce. But Khanster is going back into the escape, so there may be something there that will help to direct him in the right direction.
The Mini Moldorm Cave being kind of a bust.
As is the back of the escape, so both runners right now, you know, picking up quite a few items to get them in a direction, and exitzero looks like he's either going to go ahead and do the Ice Rod Cave, which, yep, I would say that is confirmed. I was thinking perhaps he would take a fake flipper, but without those 500 rupees, it may not be worth it to him yet.
Yeah, it's difficult to decide whether you want to do the fake flipper or not. I usually have a rule of thumb that basically just boils down to whatever I feel like at the moment. It's not a great rule of thumb, but, you know, it works, kind of.
Although, speaking of sequence breaks, it does look like Khanster is going to go up to Death Mountain, and with that hook shot, we'll have quite a few locations to check and items to pick up.
Yeah, I like this play. Skipping, skipping the lamp is not that big a deal. We know that it's going to be somewhere, and you know, if you're a skilled runner, you really don't care about the lamp that much.
Especially in these dark room locations that are a lot easier to navigate than, of course, the maze and pod, for example.
exitzero opting to take the fake flippers. We'll see what he decides to do with that. Checking the island here that has ether, so we know where all the medallions are. And we have the Cane of Samaria. I think we might be seeing Mire and Turtle Rock in this run.
And perhaps pretty early. We'll have to see how this kind of shakes out. But yeah, you're absolutely right. With all three of those medallions in play, at the very least, the runners can take solace in knowing that they don't have to go hunting for those dungeons that do require.
Just a shield from the hobo. Not what you want to see, but, you know, maybe it'll protect against a spear or something somewhere.
One thing that I always talk about when we talk about sequence breaks is you have to be careful to kind of keep your wits about you when you sequence break, because sometimes it can lead you down a very long string of events that take you off the logic and can become a little bit confusing toward the latter half of the game. So I'm sure with runners of these caliber in the tournament that that won't be a problem.
Right. So right now we know that either the lamp can be found before, either the lamp or flute should be able to be found before we get to Death Mountain. So it's just a matter of you gotta keep that in the back of your mind. So if we find lamp or flute up here, then we know the other one is going to be available outside of Death Mountain.
Right, and of course, you know, we have some of those one-off locations that kind of hang out around Hyrule that you tend to leave a little bit until things are getting a little bit scarce. But we did find a sword on Zora Ledge, so that, you know, obviously progressive sword will be sitting there if the players do find something earlier.
Yes, I imagine as runners, if they find the flippers early, that they might go pick that up, especially if they have 500 rupees to give to Zora.
Well, exitzero is heading to Eastern Palace in Sahasrarla's hut, where there are 3 items. And, you know, good play. There, again, an item-dense location, more dense than, of course, than going to somewhere like Agina's Cave, which is a one-off. So we'll see what's to be had here. Hopefully a progression item for him.
Yeah, at this moment, I would probably be interested in seeing what the Light World dungeons are, just so I can make an informed decision about Eastern Palace, but it might turn out that we just go in there anyway, because it doesn't seem like we have a whole lot from Sahasrarla there. Oh, that's interesting. We got the shovel and a mirror in Paradox Cave.
So perhaps this sequence break for Khanster is playing out pretty well. The only problem is whereas one might be able to go up to, say, Tower of Hera, even though not being able to complete the basement this time, there's no weapon to fight Moldorm. So maybe he'll find one here, maybe he won't.
Well, we know where all 3 shields are. Isn't that exciting? Oh, and we have a sword finally.
Well, the sequence break has been quite fruitful for Khanster, though. Other than, I believe, Spiral Cave, if he did opt to do that, there's not much else to do on the east side Death Mountain here without that hammer to go further west.
Right, it looks like he's going for it. We'll get to see what's in Eastern. The flippers are in Eastern!
So that looks like that was the play and logic to start moving the runners forward, because the flippers, I'm trying to think, the flippers...
They led to the sword.
Sword, yes.
Yeah. But still, that's not... Well, that sword would let us fight... No, because we could already fight blind because we have the Cane of Samaria, so this is... We'll just have to keep that in the back of our minds, I think.
So we did get a map check. 5 crystal is Eastern Palace, red pendant is Desert Palace, and there is another crystal, I believe, on Tower of Hera. Of course, Eastern Palace does have 3 unique items, so as of right now, exitzero does have one of those 3 unique items. I don't believe he picked up anything else in terms of unique item, and now we're at 2 unique items for exitzero.
Right, and it's pretty rare that you don't visit Eastern Palace during a run. Oh, we got another sword there in Spiral Cave.
So now we know where 3 out of the 4 swords are. Obviously we have the other one on the Zora Ledge. So we'll see what the fourth sword is for the runners. And though Butter Sword obviously isn't too much of a desire for experienced players who play this, it's always really nice to have, especially in that Ganon fight where it cuts down the workload quite a bit.
Right. Although it can, I found that it actually might make Ganon a little too easy, and if you get a little overconfident, well, that can bite you in the butt. Not that I would know about that. Right?
Just pulling from random examples, not personal experience.
Oh yeah, just random things I saw.
Well, looks like Khanster might be making an early play into Tower of Hera, and though he won't be able to go into the basement to complete without a fire source, he can certainly get some items out of here. And of course, Tower of Hera has 2 unique items that the player can pick up.
And I believe the Harmos Knights will have our last item, so we won't be able to get that yet. But we do have blue mail, or red mail, excuse me.
Khanster pausing for a quick second, just thinking about his options, and he does have the big key, so he can continue his journey up to the boss in Tower of Hera, which I'm sure he's hoping that basement will not be required, and exitzero on the left side, meanwhile, is checking that back of escape. I think that's a really good move. Really, play that out so it's not in your head any longer, and you don't risk forgetting it. Though there wasn't anything of value there.
Right, but we'll get to see if there's anything interesting in Tower of Hera. Now, Tower of Hera is still not in the logic till we find the lamp or the flute, so we gotta take what we see here with a grain of salt, but with the larger picture, we can get maybe an idea. Oh, and Khanster is opting to, I imagine, drop from above to get that big chest.
Unfortunately, that bomb jump on the floor below can be a little bit unforgiving and drop you down a floor, so and of course add to your time. So he does pick up a heart piece, and I believe that will be the second unique item of the dungeon. He is going to go ahead and complete it as it is a crystal.
Yeah, I don't remember. That might be the second item.
exitzero with those flippers is going to pick up his first sword of the game, and soon once he travels up to Death Mountain, we'll be picking up another couple of swords up there.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the money to deal with Zora, so that's not part of the equation. But that sword is a nice find.
Khanster making quick work of Moldorm, which on a good day could knock a player off a few times from that platform. But on his bad day, Khanster looks like he got the best from getting his first crystal 23 minutes in. But as you said before, DVO, it is still out of logic, so we'll see where he goes next.
Yeah, and that's the problem with going out of logic. Sometimes you just won't find anything because, you're out of logic. All the good stuff is front-loaded or, some other thing, or there's like a chain of logic and you just find the end piece and it doesn't really help you out, so. So it looks like Khanster might be checking out that dig spot, and exitzero is heading to the Dark World. Will we get, pendant in, oh, those are pendants you don't want to see. That's Thieves Town is the green pendant, and Skull Woods is the blue pendant.
And Pod was another 5-6 crystals, so and the rest of those dungeons will be crystals for those runners, but I agree with you. Those are 2 pendants you don't want to see, though. Skull Woods, if it's not blocked off by the fire rod, those last couple of items can be quite a quick little check there, and then moving on.
Right, that's the thing. Those dungeons are relatively simple. They're easy to get to. They happen relatively early in the run. They're often the first dungeons you can finish when you're playing a seed, but they won't be giving you anything required to get to Ganon, at least. But they may still hold progression items, so can't rule that out.
Of course, Skullwood's having 2 unique items, and Thieves Town with 4. There's 6 possible items that could put these runners, forward in their progression. So I'm sure they're hoping for that. As exitzero is going to check that big chest by doing one of the bomb jumps in Skullwoods.
Oh no, and he falls. Those mini Moldorms are jerks.
I mean, I think they're just avenging their fallen king from the right side. They heard about what's happening over on the right side.
Oh, probably. So Khanster's finally picking up his Moon Pearl, which might be pretty interesting to see what he is thinking right here, because, you know, that Moon Pearl was available early, so he's probably thinking that his opponent, exitzero, has probably taken advantage of that. So
yeah, and the South Shore is an early play for a lot of runners. So as you said, he may be thinking that not doing that early play may have put him at a disadvantage. But unfortunately, finding exitzero here is finding that without magic, cannot use that Khanster786 to make this Gibda room just a little bit easier.
oh yeah, I have to push the statue, which is no fun, and you need to watch out for the hitbox on it too, because sometimes it looks like it should be pressing down the button, but it doesn't. But it looks like it's fine here, so.
All right, nothing but keys and dungeon items for exitzero as he dipped into Skullwoods. I don't think he picked up any unique items in there, nothing that I caught, but perhaps, if I'm incorrect, chat will certainly correct me on that one.
I think it was a heart piece in the big chest. I may be wrong. So yeah, exitzero will get to check to see if he checks the bumper cave, which looks like he's headed that way.
It's always a nice piece of intel to check that bumper cave with or without the cape this early. Again, one of those one-off locations that, although in this case doesn't hold anything of value, can hold something of value and can hold a runner up from progressing further.
Right. And unfortunately, he doesn't have that mirror that Khanster has, so he can't check that graveyard ledge, which is a fun little place where items hide a lot of the time.
You will see some players route that in when they do King's Tomb, so that could be a later check for him in his mind, but he's going to check Village of Outcast, and picking up 300 rupees, which now puts him in in buying distance for Zora.
Right, now we'll have to see if exitzero opts to go into Thieves Town or not, because, you know, it's a pendant, although it is the green pendant. So, you know, do you finish Thieves Town in that case? Do you check the first 4 chests and hope you get something and just nope on out of there?
And the only other variable here is without the hammer, he can't full clear, and if there's an item in that big big chest, then it could be something that sticks in the back of his head for quite some time as a chest that's hanging out with a progression item.
Right. Yeah, so I think the play here, if you go in, you just check those 4 chests and hope that the rest of the stuff is not important.
It does look like Khanster is headed toward Kakariko Village, which may signal that he too is going to go into the Dark World. And with that mirror, we'll have a few extra checks and time savers that exitzero does not have, because without that mirror, a lot of saving and quitting if you're going into the Dark World taking care of some business.
Yep, and exitzero trying to hookshot that pot. Well, that's not a hookshotable pot. That actually has a bunny beam under it, and so therefore it doesn't count. Don't ask me why that is, but it's just how it goes, I guess.
So far, just a bomb upgrade for exitzero, so we'll see what's in the second chest here, and it is just a map, so yeah, we'll see if it continues on to see what's in the back of Thieves Town.
Now, you know, it's possible that Blind himself might, or themselves, shapeshifters, whatever, Blind might have that hammer, which is probably the most annoying location for that hammer, at least for the time being.
Yeah, it's definitely a sick joke on Blind's behalf to have that hammer and have that item left in his or her dungeon. But the other possibility too is that Blind, being a green pendant, also will unlock Sahasrah's family treasure, heirloom, or whatever he ends up calling it, which could also be a progression item.
Absolutely, and sometimes that is the make or break play. It's not often, but it can be.
Looks like Khanster's going to take Jeremiah, as I've heard him referred to before, to back to his home, or at least on the tour. But I'm assuming back to the home first, and maybe then Purple Chest will take the world tour.
Yeah, with that mirror, it makes a whole lot of sense to go and do this way, because it's really quick to do. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the hammer, so we won't be checking the hammer pegs. Oh, and I didn't see what the chest in Blind's dungeon at Thieves Town was.
Yeah, I missed what that was as well. So it doesn't look like it was anything of crucial importance. I'm looking at the tracker.
It's a bottle maybe? I don't remember seeing a bottle, and I see a bottle on the tracker, so if that is the case, then that would have been the bottle of some sort.
Well, of course, having that bottle too will open up Sick Kid once exitzero goes back into the light world, so that's not a bad thing to have either.
Yes, it's possible that that Sick Kid could have progression.
All right, Dig Game only digging up a piece of heart for Khanster. So far it's been a rather quiet seed once these runners cleared out quite a few items. So we'll see where the progression is next.
Yeah, we got quite a few items early, so it stands to reason that we're a little bit front loaded, and so the middle area might be a little scarce. Just a single rupee from old Stumpy.
All right, well, exitzero is going into the blind fight with, of course, Blind's trademark pun. Seeing that exitzero does not have a bright future, I kudos to whoever wrote all these puns for Blind.
They are terrible, and I love it.
Well, exitzero certainly making really quick work for 10 arrows and a couple of rage slashes on Blind, but has the green pendant, opens up another item, and does really well in a fight that many refer to as a scripted fight. So exitzero, nice job getting that green pendant, and we'll see when he turns it into Sahasrah.
Oh, and we find the hammer, finally, in Cave 45, south of the Grove. So the question is, where the heck are either the lamp or the flute?
I've seen a lot of seeds with late lamp, and for people like me who are very uncomfortable with some of the harder dark rooms, it could be quite a frustrating wait.
Yes, I imagine a lot of really good runners probably prefer not to see the lamp so they get that advantage. Those rooms in Misery Mire and some other places are not easy to do unless you put a lot of practice into them.
Absolutely, and chat calling for T-Rock lamp, and I have absolutely seen that before, and just like you, it's a random example that I ran across, not something I've ever experienced, but T-Rock lamp I've seen before, and is a cruel joke.
I've seen it more times than I care to admit. Also, the Mimic Cave just outside of Turtle Rock as well. Sometimes the seeds have a sick sense of humor.
The the seed giveth and the seed taketh away.
Indeed. It looks like Khanster is also making the Thieves Town play. We'll have to see if he decides to continue further or just check these couple chests at the beginning. He does have that mirror, and it is out. So we might be planning on just jumping right on out.
Well, exitzero is now going to the cave formerly, currently, futurely known as Hype Cave, and we'll see if he does indeed let that cave live up to its former glory, starting with a 300 rupee drop.
So we have Fire Rod. I would say that's relatively hype.
And it opens up Skull Woods for him if he wanted to get those items, or that last item rather. So we'll see if he ends up doing that.
So I'm seeing, the type of items that we have. It's really seeming to me like maybe the game wants us to go to Turtle Rock, but we need just like one more piece of the puzzle, really.
Or, as I'm looking at Bombos, they have Hookshot, they have Fire Rod, and they have the Myth, so I'm wondering if perhaps Ice Palace is where the seed may be pushing them.
That's also a very good thing to bring up. Yeah, especially, they have the Hookshot and the Khanster786. That makes Ice Palace really easy to clear, honestly.
Well, Sick Kid just giving away his big 20 allowance, so nothing exciting in the Sick Kid land, but exitzero is going to bring Jeremiah back home, and Khanster is going to continue on in Thieves Town, so we'll see what's happening. Both runners sort of retracing the steps of the other.
Yeah, they both kind of have not a whole lot of options. Okay, that was the compass. So I don't know where that bottle came from. I must have missed that at some point.
I do remember seeing the bottle. I do not remember where it is either, but I do remember seeing it early on. But in any case, it's always helpful to have a bottle. It's a nice safety to have. Those seeds where you go bottleless, they're a little unnerving at times because you got nothing going in terms of safeties if you start to lose those hearts pretty rapidly.
I also like to have a bottle if I go into the Palace of Darkness if I don't have the arrows. It can help save a lot of time with the help of that minor glitch that was rather recently found. So yeah, exitzero opting to go up to Death Mountain as well.
He's going to find himself, I believe the shovel was there in Paradox Cave, and there was also a couple sword upgrades, so he's going to be happy to do that. And we find, oh no!
Well, that's a fun place to have the silver arrows.
Well, while not required to be Ganon per se, they do make that fight a lot quicker.
That is true, and that's probably not going to be on exitzero's docket maybe ever in the seed, so we'll have to see how the rest of this plays out.
Yeah, I don't imagine he's going to go back, and while Ganon does give you the answer to where his arrows are, the silver arrows are, I don't see that time loss to getting the arrows really making up for their benefit.
Yeah. And Khanster finishing up blind really nicely.
And having that fire shield that really helped a lot in that fight. I heard a lot of pings as the fireballs went to that shield. So I think that was I think he was really appreciating that shield, whereas we usually sort of just look at those shields as not really that useful.
Well, if there's one place you want the fire shield, it's kind of there. And exitzero picking up his shovel and Mirror.
It does look like Khanster's going to go ahead and check Skullwoods. And I think exitzero is going to be picking up his fire shield, and I believe there's also a sword upgrade in here, and there it is.
Yeah, I imagine exitzero will pretty soon have the tempered sword. Because that was in Spiral Cave, yes. Okay, so exitzero is going to be doing Spiral Cave, indeed, and getting his upgraded sword.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe, yep, he did find his mirror. I was saying, I think Mire was around this way as well.
Yeah, right in Paradox Cave in the two chests side by side.
The unfortunate piece is without the boots, the Spiral Cave is just a really, really long walk of shame, but worth it as exitzero is going to get his upgraded sword, his tempered sword, bacon sword, carrot sword, whatever you want to call it.
Well, whatever you call it, I call it peace of mind. So exitzero,
that's the best name of all.
exitzero is heading into the Dark World, taking advantage of the fact that he waited a little bit to make this trip. So we'll have to see if this pays off.
Well, not only that, but you can also check T-Rock to see what the medallion is required for entry. I don't know that we got that information yet.
Yes, but he doesn't have the hammer, so he won't be able to go in. But he can at least take a look. And just a piece of heart and some bombs. Well, I imagine he'll check Hookshot Cave next, and maybe we'll get something there.
So Hasrilla is still on the table. Our favorite octogenarian. What is he holding behind that green pendant?
I think that was Ether for Turtle Rock. Yes. But we know where Ether is, and we can get it right now, so...
What I'm just remembering, too, is I think the runners, as exitzero gets some literacy in the Hookshot Cave, is both the runners, I believe, had the knowledge of where all three medallions were. So, you know, that T-Rock check, I think, might have been a reflex if exitzero had that knowledge.
Oh, and exitzero falling at a very opportune time in this cave. The jellyfish enemies in here are really just annoying. And he's taking out his frustration there.
Yeah, not happy about those enemies. And also probably not going to be super happy about the Lionels, because without boots, it's sometimes almost guaranteed. Although you can use those iframes with the, or use those frames rather with the hookshot. But he took care of it, so no problem there.
Yeah, and the tempered sword can knock him away, so that's pretty nice too. The master sword will do absolutely nothing to them unless, I guess, you do a spin attack, and who has time for that?
Ain't nobody got time for that. I think that would be the answer.
Indeed. So exitzero picking up the red mail.
Of course, with the book, he also has access to that to the tablet, which also could be holding something.
Yeah, I imagine he'll check that right when he finishes up here. But right now, exitzero will need to check out that Cave 45 in order to get the hammer. Without the hammer, you are blocked many, many ways in the Dark World.
Yeah, the hammer is one of those items that just really is obstructionist not having it, and I would say really can be something that can. It's just incredibly useful as a weapon as well if you have a lower grade sword.
For sure. It's the case of one of those items that when you don't have it, you really learn to appreciate it. I would say for the power glove as well. If you're running around with the power glove, it can be difficult to remember just what all is blocked off by that lift upgrade.
Yeah, those Dark World access items can be really frustrating if you do not have them. And so we'll see. We'll see with where we go next. I mean, I'm trying to think now as the runners sort of again retrace each other's steps. Where do we go next?
Honestly, it's a little difficult to keep together because a lot of the stuff that we found was on Death Mountain, and we technically don't have access to Death Mountain yet. So the question is, I imagine maybe Ice Palace. Does that make sense? Where did we find? We have the fire rod from Hype Cave, and So I believe Ice Palace is in Logic. Oh no, because the hammer was on. Okay, I'm getting a little out of sorts here.
I think it's in Logic because you had the mitts were in Logic, the fire rod was in Logic as far as I remember, and you don't need the mirror to get into Ice Palace. So I think we are in Logic right now.
Right. Okay, but okay. So some of the chests in Ice Palace are in Logic, and some are not. That's where I think I was getting a little confused. Because that mirror was blocked. That mirror was in Death Mountain, and that allowed us to get the hammer.
Oh goodness gracious, we missed the lamp. The answer to all of our logic problems we missed.
Well, yeah, that'll nip that in the bud.
Lamp was tired of listening to us try to make logic of the logic, so there it was.
See, these are the kinds of things that happen when you try and break logic and try and make sense of it in retrospect. It's not pretty. Break logic responsibly, kids.
All right, well, we have the Hyrule National Anthem. I'm not going to even attempt to sing it, but there it is. Well, Exit is looking like he's going to make the play to Desert Palace, which could be the play. You have a fire source, you have the book, but without the boots, and if this is a boots locked dungeon, we're at a dead stop with that one.
Yeah, I forget exactly the percentages. I think it's a 33% chance, of 1 in 3, something like that it's boots locked.
How dare you bring math into this?
Well, I'm also thinking of old logic. I haven't checked to see if it changed, so. Desert Palace is one of those dungeons that you kind of don't get to until kind of later in the seed, so usually it's less of a consideration.
Oh my goodness, and we missed the flute too. Chat, just slap us around a little bit. We're missing a couple of things there so they get picked up.
Yeah, I must have forgotten to take my vitamins today, because, I missed both of those items. When I was looking at the screen, so I must have tunnel vision or something.
If chat wouldn't mind helping us out, where was the lamp and where was the flute?
Okay, bombos for Mire, as if that were really a consideration. We have access to all of the medallions.
So flute was on Ether Tablet, as chat is telling us. So thank you, chat, on that one. And
that makes a whole lot of sense.
Oh no, lamp was on Ether. Chat, you get.
Okay. Lamp is on Ether Tablet. Okay. And Flute was, well, we'll see Flute soon enough. Again.
Flute was in Hyrule or Dark Hyrule, so I think that narrows it down a little bit.
Oh, it was in Skull Woods. Okay, so yeah. Khanster had the fire rod going back into Skull Woods, and that's where that happened.
Alright, so now we're back up to speed here. exitzero is in Desert Palace. We got Khanster looking like he's going into Agina's Cave as well. Not going to find a whole lot there. And hopefully for exitzero, they aren't going to see a Boots Lock Seed, which, unless they want a net, they are not finding a Boots Locked dungeon here.
Well, you know, that net is really important.
But you got to have swag strats.
Oh, you gotta look good while you fight Aghanim, of course. exitzero opting to pick up the piece of heart and getting a refill for it.
It's always nice when you get those refills.
And sometimes, if you get one in Ganon's Tower, it can make all the difference. So Khanster is trying to decide what to do. I know that feeling.
You know, he paused a bit. He was thinking maybe pod, and I've seen pod where it wants you to double dip, but despite the fact that you don't have that bow, and it wants you to double dip for something. So I would be in Khanster's space to think, maybe that's what the seat wants me to do. But I don't necessarily disagree with what he is doing instead, which is going into Eastern.
Yeah, I mean, if Pod doesn't have a key in that first chest, you're kind of out of luck at that point. He doesn't have the bottle either, so he can't do the fun trick.
Oh, almost so close.
Almost getting that one cycle, but there it goes.
Chat pointing out, interestingly enough, that Khanster with the green pendant didn't stop by our favorite friend over in his solitary hut there.
That's a good point. That's something that would weigh a little bit on my mind. Maybe he's planning on picking it up on the way out. We'll have to.
However, I do think exitzero might be making the play to Sahasrah's hut. Or not. He's going to make a liar of me. That's what he's going to do.
Think maybe going to Ice Palace?
Looks like it, and it's a brave move, I have to say. I mean, I think it's the move that the seed wants him to make, but without any green go to refill his magic, he's got to be really economical with what he's with how he uses it.
Well, he doesn't have the hammer, and that's going to present a problem at some point. But we'll have to see if this play will pay off regardless. It's possible.
I mean, the hammer does only block a couple of, could block up to 3 items if the big key is in one of those chests, but blocks 2 items. So yeah, it's risky to go in here hoping for hammer. Not that I haven't seen that before. Again, just randomly picking out some experiences here. But, you know, it is risky to go into Ice Palace without that hammer.
Right, and he can't fight Cold Stare without it either. So regardless, he'll have to make a return trip.
Ice Palace is not a place that I think anyone wants to make a return trip. I don't think they have a rewards point system going on.
I think they, in fact, take away a punch on your punch card. Don't ask how that works, it, you know, just does.
It's Hyrulean economy logic. I mean, it's obvious how it works. If you need us to explain it to you, then I can't.
So it looks like Khanster is headed to Sahasrahla.
Oh, I thought he was getting a bomb ready for
Oh.
some rage.
Well, just a piece of heart, so that's not really exciting, and Sahasrahla's closet doesn't have anything either.
Sahasrahla's treasure all along was his love. I mean, can't we just be happy about that?
I kind of like the boots better, if I'm gonna be honest.
All right, well, exitzero is making a full commitment into this ice palace before he's going to be stopped with his without the hammer. So, you know, again, not a bad idea, but without that hammer, it's going to be a disappointing double dip.
Right, and it looks like Khanster might be headed to Swamp. Or might be heading to that Bombos tablet, which I don't think we... Oh, he doesn't have the book, so never mind that.
Of course, he does have that hook shot. He didn't get it in a very favorable way to go up to Hookshot Cave. So, you know, I think Swamp is a good play. Of course, we have 6 items we can get in Swamp, so you know, always favorable to go mode it. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, something good in there.
Yeah, a lot of runners don't like Swamp, and I can totally understand that. But I don't know. It was my favorite dungeon in vanilla, and you know, it's got a bunch of items, and even though it might be a little slow, it often will give you something. But boy, when it doesn't, it sure stinks.
Yeah, it's a long dungeon not to have anything pay off, so I'm hoping it does pay off. At least they have an upgraded sword. At least Khanster has an upgraded sword, so you don't have to play... I mean, you could play the hammer game, the inventory boss, but hopefully that's not going to be the case. And I think exitzero just made the heartbreaking realization that we aren't getting any more items out of Ice Palace after this one.
Right. Okay, that was a heart in that first chest. In Swamp.
Yes. So here's the question. Is there anything that is a possibility for the pedestal?
Well, I mean... Let's see, so... Bow seems like a possibility. Yeah, I mean, there's Ice Rod, of course.
Not that I want to wish that on anybody, but, you know, we always have to play out every hand that is a possibility here.
It could be Boots, and Boots could be on the, big key in Ganon's tower could be on that torch. It's a really outside possibility, but, you know.
I mean, that's one of the worst feelings. You go into Ganon's tower, you're like, here I go, I'm going to do this, I'm gonna win. And you go in without Boots, hoping and hoping, and then you see that key on that torch, and you just you say some things that aren't family friendly.
Indeed. But there could also be something really stupid. Oh, well, there's the Ice Rod, so that's out of the equation. That's a nice thing to have out of the way, honestly, because the Ice Rod can really just be anywhere in the game. It doesn't care.
And of course, with T-Rock as a crystal, having that Ice Rod, King of Samaria, and Fire Rod, that may be the next play for Khanster. And if the seed brings him up there, he's going to get his book out of Hookshot Cave, and shortly thereafter, the lamp.
Yeah, if the seed wasn't screaming to go there before, I think at this point it's pretty clear.
So exitzero looks like making a circle here, making a round here in ice. So I'm wondering what he might be hoping for.
Did he open the big chest? I don't know if he opened the big chest. He has the big key.
I mean, he can't clear Cold Stare. Maybe he's thinking he can. He forgot that you have to hammer down those pegs.
Yeah, that might be.
Man, those pegs are gonna be very disappointing when he sees them.
Right. Oh, and the map and the compass side by side in the back of Swamp. That's disheartening.
Now, did Conster pick up the big key yet? Because sometimes that's really frustrating. You wait for the big key, comes at the end, and you either backtrack or hope that nothing's there.
I think he skipped left side and got the ice rod and a heart, so I don't think he has the big key.
Interesting, a left side skip when you're not at go mode yet. I mean, that's a gamble, but it could be a gamble that pays off. Time save.
I thought so, but I might have been missing something. I was paying attention to ExitZero's plays a bit, so we'll have to see.
Ooh, and those saw those pegs in the rage slashes raining down.
Yep, that's it's one of those things that's easy to forget because the hammer is very important in a lot of places, blocking off a lot of things. That's why I usually see it early in seeds.
Well, headed towards Kakariko, he may be starting to get the notion that K45 is a possibility here.
Yeah, I imagine at the forefront of his mind is some of those mirror locations, which is what exactly he needs to do. So I would not be surprised. So Swamp has given us the ice rod, but not a whole lot else. Oh, the crystal, I mean, that's important, of course. Yeah, and Khanster is heading right back in, so I believe he did skip left side.
Well, exitzero is going to go ahead and clear out the rest of Skullwoods with his fire rod. Until he hits that K45, it's going to be a little bit of scrounging around for some items and hoping for the best, but he's going to have to head back to that cave, hopefully sooner rather than later.
And it's possible we might get a pedestal check out of him.
Everyone loves a good pedestal check, so I think that would not be disappointing to anyone in our viewing audience.
Well, up until the moment where, it's loose change or something.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go with a pedestal check, the moment that so many people hope and wait for. And it is a rupee hoard, so absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna go through all the motions to get, 300 rupees or anything like that. So, not today, chat. Sorry.
So, Devo, Devio, oh boy, wow, I need some coffee. What is an item on the pedestal that you would go back for that wouldn't necessarily be a progression item, but something that'd be nice to have?
Oh boy, that's something that's nice to have. Like, if it were half magic and I happen to already have all the pendants, I might be convinced to go and do that. Because half magic is so nice. I like to use the fire rod wastefully, so something like that would get me would pique my interest.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking the exact same item as you, but it's hard, when exitzero picking up his flute in Skullwoods, but it's hard because you wonder how much of a time gain you're going to get from such a time loss and doing all the pendant dungeons.
Yeah, which is why I mentioned if I happen to have them and I happen to be close-ish to the area, maybe I would make that pickup. We got the magic powder on the left side of the swamp.
Of course, with that powder and oh boy.
Well, we got our fetch quests out of the way.
I was gonna say, with that powder, with that hammer, now what is in logic.
Yeah, we got 2 fetch quests in logic that we can do, and Khanster. Oh, yeah, he doesn't have the book again. I keep thinking that he has the book, but I was like, check bombos, but you can't. Makes total sense. I apologize.
If only he paid his attention in his ancient Hyrulean studies class.
Okay, well, we'll see what the witch has here. Just some money.
All right, I bet he's gonna go head over to. Oh, nope, I thought it may be going over to Kakariko Village to visit Batman, but no.
Well, that is kind of a time-consuming check, so maybe he's putting it off for now, at least. Now, we must be heading toward the pyramid, or maybe pod. Or catfish. We'll have to see.
You know, I think Misery Mire is also less. Was it Ether that opened up Misery Mire?
It's Bombos. Yeah, I remember now.
So that's in play too, because exitzero and Khanster both have Bombos, both have Khanster786. They have a lamp. They could complete it if they wanted to.
Right. And I know at least one of the runners knows what Turtle Rock is, and neither of them have picked up Ether yet.
See, the checkerboard cave has just a 300 rupee. You know, I will say, looking at Misery Mire, it is without being punny, although, believe me, I do love being punny, it is very miserable to complete without that bow. Though it's nice to have an upgraded sword, but Vitreous without the bow can be a little bit challenging.
Yeah, without like cape or something, or a whole lot of bombs, it can be a little rough. Although I gotta say, the bomb Vitreous is really satisfying.
I would agree. I mean, the only thing that I always mess it up because one of the eyeballs always gets me when I'm trying to you know, hammer toss those bombs on.
Yeah, those things are persistent. But, you know, it's a whole lot better than just standing there with your fighter sword and just swinging and swinging and swinging and hoping the eyeballs run into it.
All right, let's see what Catfish is going to have for us. Hopefully something worthwhile. All right,
Yeah.
well, a little piece of love, and he is saying, nope, I don't want your love.
I think we might get a Zora check here real quickly. And I think Khanster will pick up his third sword, if I had to guess.
There's where the bottle was. Now I'm remembering where that bottle was.
Alright, so exitzero clearing out the mire here. We'll have to see if there's anything good. We're still looking for that bow. That is the most important item. Actually, it's the item that we need, really, that neither of these runners have found.
I'm going to make a bold call right now. Not that that's my job as a commentator, but I'm going to say bow is in Turtle Rock. I just have a feeling.
You know, yeah, it probably is. Because that's a stupid location for the bow. And the bow is always in a stupid location.
Stupid is absolutely the word that I would use to describe that location.
Turtle Rock is just stupid in general. It has a lot of fun items, like a mirror on Trinexx, or goodness knows. There's a lot of stuff that's really inconvenient.
Well, Misery Mire has two unique items. exitzero got one of them. He's going to go ahead and likely use the glitch here to light those torches and to execute, or rather, to start the world's longest cutscene.
Evidently you've not played Metal Gear Solid 4.
So second longest cutscene?
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah, chat brings up that we might see the bow at the Pyramid Fairy.
You know, I was thinking that too, but it can't. I don't think it can be because Pod is one of the 5-6 crystals.
Yeah, that is a very good point. So that seems unlikely.
So this game is sometimes out for blood. So never say never. Although then it would be a broken seed.
Yeah, then we'd have to ask, did someone make the settings on this correct? I don't know if it's possible to get in there using glitches, but I don't think you can do that here, so.
Well, the nice thing is for Khanster is that he does have that hammer, so he's going to be able to complete this dungeon full cleared. So we'll see if there's anything of value in those hammerlock chests. And exitzero is also heading up to the big chest in Misery Mire, so we'll see if there's that second item, and there isn't, but he's going to keep looking.
Well, it looks like it's going to be on Vitreous.
Alright, well, he's going to have to be pretty careful. I know that he's the bottle with some red goo in it, so that's helpful, but exitzero is down to 2.5 hearts, or 2.25 hearts, and so that's certainly going to be a precarious position to be in for a Vitreous fight.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a daunting prospect. But, you know, he does have a tempered sword, so, you know, if he can stay away from Vitreous or, you know, with some fancy footwork, it can turn out all right.
To give Khanster some kudos, he really set up that bomb jump in Ice Palace really nicely, very meticulously, and very cleanly, so nice job to Khanster on that one.
Yeah, the hookshot is a really nice item to have in the Ice Palace. I really don't like having to go through it without it.
Yeah, there's another bomb jump in this room with the jellies that is a little bit more difficult to execute, and without that hookshot, it can kind of put you to dead stop.
Right. Okay, exitzero is heading up to Vitreous.
Godspeed, exitzero. We're all counting on you.
Yeah, it has very few safeties, so this is going to be interesting.
Alright, Khanster's going to show us what these last two items here that exitzero was unable to obtain. And so we'll see if exitzero has missed out on anything crucial.
Okay, yeah, he's dodging those eyeballs no problem, so I imagine this should turn out just fine.
Ooh, and there's our bow in Ice Palace. It was in one of those hammerlock chests, so exitzero, oh man, is definitely going to have to make his way back into that Ice Palace eventually.
Yeah, that's rough. Well, he'll have to finish Ice Palace regardless, but yeah, he'll need to pick up that bow too. But at this point, it seems that we are in no mode. We know where all the items to clear the game. Probably. It's just that matter of the 1 in 22 chance that big key is in a boots lock location in Ganon's Tower.
Well, and depending on how comfortable Khanster is with those dark rooms, he might be in his own little quasi-go mode. If he needs that lamp, he's got to pick that up, and then he'll be there. Though
it should be noted that the getting the lamp is a pretty simple situation of just picking up the book, which I believe was in Hookshot Cave, and then heading on over to the Ether Tablet. So it's at least, not that much of a pain.
Right, and if he is going to head up to T-Rock, which again, all signs are kind of pointing him that way to begin with, obviously minus the lack of lamp, he'll get it pretty quickly.
Right, but if he's confident in not having the lamp, then he might just clear all the other dungeons first. So, because that's a very convenient way to start your entry into Ganon's Tower.
Well, the nice thing is if you are a Khanster and you pretty much have all the items you need to make your way to Ganon's Tower, take care of those crystals, you can avoid some of those more difficult dark rooms in Pod and just go right over to Helmasaur. Though, in its own right, those dark rooms in the basement are quite difficult.
Yeah, but with the fire rod, you can light those torches and actually see a bit. So that's as long as you know where those torches are.
Well, exitzero finding one of my favorite items, and that is the bee in the bottle on the graveyard ledge. And he hasn't fought Mothula yet, and if he decides he wants to, I enjoy using the bee strat. I think it's a fun strat to use, though it's very erratic.
Yeah, it can make Mothula bounce around pretty heavily, so it's not usually my first line of attack, but it's fun to do. So, and that's all that matters, really.
All right, well, Khanster's going into his cold stare fight using Bombos first, which will be less draining on his magic for the same results, and I think hoping for that quick kill, getting him into that corner, and then just slashing away. Some people will opt to do fire rod shots, which he is now doing, so it looks like he's going to go ahead and just finish off this fight.
Yep, very well done. Looks like exitzero is checking out Catfish, which is not going to have anything he wants.
Refreshing memory, did he pick up this sword upgrade? I mean, we're going to find out in a second.
Yeah, he did. We don't know where that fourth sword is yet. But it looks like he'll be checking up Juan what King Zora has. Which also is not going to be very satisfactory. So I'm trying to figure out where Khanster is going, and I am not entirely sure. To Pod, maybe?
I too was kind of thinking that. I was looking at his items, I was looking at his crystal count and saying maybe to DF56, but no, he may be going. He may be tipping into Pod.
Oh, he's picking up Ether. That's what it is.
Ah, yes. Oh goodness, I'd forgot about Ether.
I kept trying to remember, but then I forgot at the critical moment. Isn't that always the way? So then I imagine he might be fluting right on over to Pod, maybe? We'll have to see. That indeed looks like where he's going.
Faked us out there, killing that guard. I thought maybe, you're going into Eastern first, and I think he realized it's a lot quicker when you do Pod, Mire, and then Eastern.
Yeah, it saves quite a bit of time not having to make that jump back and forth, especially if you don't have the boots. Like, if you have the boots, you can just kind of, like, run around the Eastern Palace area like a crazy person. It's a lot of fun, but, we don't have that luxury right here.
Alright, well, Exit Zero is going to do a pyramid check. I don't think he's going to find, I think it was rupees, 50 rupees, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And Khanster's bringing everyone's favorite scamming monkey, Kiki, to open a pod for him.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if Khanster just heads right to the boss or what happens here. He might be banking on trying to find that lamp, but he might be super confident without it, regardless. So
Looks like our runners are converging. You know, obviously, Exit Zero is, I think, probably hoping for the bow, and I think you're right in that Conster's hoping for the lamp. So they're both going into pod, unfortunately, hoping for all the wrong places where the items are located.
yeah, isn't that how it goes?
I guess you can call this the Palace of Disappointment.
Yeah, probably. I mean, usually it has good stuff, but when it doesn't, boy.
I mean, at the very least, it won't be disappointing for Conster in that he can complete it. It just he won't find the lamp that he is looking for. If indeed he is looking for the lamp, I'm gonna write that down and ask him that later.
Yeah, that's a good question. An Exit Zero, just finding a heart there and cannot progress. Okay, I was wondering if he might opt to do the bottle glitch, and that appears not to be the case.
Well, Exit Zero is saving and quitting. He opened back up in the old man cave on which popular spot to open up because you can get a quick heart refill and then off the flute. We'll see where he goes. It looks like he might be going for a refill here on his potion, and he may release the bee to get a second potion, although it looks like he's opting not to.
Oh, Khanster found the big key in the Stalfos basement. So we'll have to see, does he just go right to the boss now? He has, I believe, everything he needs, yes.
Yeah, I can't imagine what else you'd be hoping for in this dungeon unless you really want that butter sword upgrade and you're going to keep poking around for it. I mean, but he may keep poking around hoping that the lamp shows up too. You know, there's still a few locations. Well, there's still, I think, one location that's not out of logic. Well, he's not going to find the lamp in those dark rooms, so one more location.
There should be, I believe they're the two, or no, there are two chests that you should be able to get that are past the bridge.
Yes, you are correct. I had to rethink that one. Yes, there are two more chests, but you know, I think that's what he's looking for. He may be looking for that lamp.
Yeah, I believe I've seen lamp in the Harmless Hellway before, so with the right key setup, I think that's always possible to get those. See, I played a bunch of Key Sanity like a few months ago, and my mind is all confused now.
Oh, I'm very sorry for you. Key Sanity is a brutal mode of operation.
It's the kind of... Oh, and Exit Zero finally getting the hammer, allaying a lot of his concerns, I imagine.
Well, he's going to bring that purple chest head lunchbox back to its owner, and I wonder if maybe now he's thinking, all right, so now I have the hammer, so now let me go finish up Ice Palace, which will be good because then he'll get the bow that he needs.
Okay, Khanster is navigating the dark maze, which is kind of interesting because, you know, besides that lamp, there's nothing he really... I mean, there's nothing that he needs, strictly speaking. Well...
Or the boots.
Well, that's a nice find. But, I mean, probably not required. But certainly helpful for speeding up the rest of the run.
there's checking out the tablet, only finding a heart. So now it looks like Khanster's kind of taking a pause and thinking, now what? With the boots, we are in no mode now. Now we have boots, and so the fear of a torch key of Ganon is no longer.
Khanster is back in the dark maze. I thought he got both items here.
He was in the he wasn't in the maze. He was in the basement with the antiquaries. So that's where he was to start. But I'm wondering what he might be looking for. The only thing I can think of is maybe book. He's thinking book to look at those tablets.
Maybe. Okay, yeah, the basement with the anti-fairies. I usually pull out the fire rod so I can see there, but it's pretty easy to do without it regardless. But the dark maze is a little tricky.
Problem with the dark maze, and I've done plenty of practice to realize this. It's just once you get lost, you're lost.
Yeah, it can get pretty bad in there. Usually, if I'm trying to navigate the dark maze, I'll pull up a map of how it goes, and usually turns out okay, but still can be a little confusing.
I'm wondering why he's doing the dark maze. I can only imagine he's looking for the book at this point because it's the only thing that can logically be here, other than Cain and Burnout or the cape.
Yeah, but he does not really need those items if he can do dark rooms. We'll have to ask him when this is up, because this is interesting. I'm not sure what he's trying to do exactly.
The unfortunate piece here is the longer that he sticks around in this dark maze trying to maneuver his way through, and now that exitzero's got more of a pathway forward, the more time he's going to start losing to him.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe Khanster doesn't know that he's essentially in go mode. He evidently noped out of there and might be heading right toward the boss now.
You know, it's hard to know why folks do things in the room, because you yourself, or I myself, we do things in runs out of adrenaline, out of nerves, out of memory lapse, and so sometimes that, oh, you know what, he may have been looking for a key. He may have been looking for a key because I just noticed he picked one up, so that may be what he was going there for.
Right, but there was a point where he did have a key and the big key, and then continued to open chests here, so I'm kind of wondering what he's looking for. If he's looking for the lamp, it's unlikely to be here, as in, it's not going to be here unless something really weird has happened.
Yeah, he certainly is very persistent about this dark maze. He only found a compass, and looks like he's going to nope out again.
Okay, so did he get the item in the upper left of the dark maze? I couldn't quite tell.
I don't believe so, because I think that's what he was working through. But it looks like I think he's given up on that dark maze, and he's going to go right for King Helmasaur, and which will be a little bit, as you mentioned, a little bit easier with the addition of that fire rod. So
Yeah, without it, those turtles can be a pain because they just kind of move wherever they want, and the hammer just kind of hits in a really bizarre hitbox to knock them over.
Meanwhile, exitzero on the left side is going through swamp, picked up powder on left side. So he did do left side, and he's making his way to the back of swamp, where he will fight Argus with the tempered sword, which will be an upgrade from what Khan started to do with master sword.
Right, and if I remember correctly, that big key is in the big chest, so we won't be seeing that at all. Unless that big key was a big key in the area right before Argus. It might have been. I'm not entirely sure.
It's been a while since we've been here. I don't believe so. I think you were right, and the big key might be in the big chest, but we'll see in just a moment. In any case.
All right, and exitzero is going to pick up his map and compass right here, which is kind of just a slap in the face. Khanster lights the torch and starts taking out those turtles that everyone loves so much.
Next to the dead rocks, they are a very undesirable enemy.
You know, it's funny, this game is really good, but it has some of the worst enemy designs I've ever seen in a video game. And you know, I've played some video games. I've played Binding of Isaac. I know trolls when I see them.
All right, 17 hammer hits, and we are going to be at a maskless King Helmasaur. And with those silver arrows in the bow, it will be a very easy defeat right after that. And both runners in a boss fight right now. We have exitzero fighting Argus.
And Khanster taking out Helmasaur King really nicely. Opting to use the strat where you keep your sword out so you have a better hitbox on the hammer. The only problem with that strat, though, is it does lag the game quite a bit, and so a lot of runners will just opt to not do that at all and just use the hammer's ridiculous hitbox.
All right, well, it looks like Khanster's going to be dipping right into Eastern, finishing that up. Dark Room's a lot more forgiving here. And exitzero is finishing up Swamp Palace. So, again, in the back of his head, is he thinking, do I go back into Ice Palace? Do I see what I missed out there and finish that dungeon up? And it looks like that may be exactly where he is headed.
He might be remembering the Ether medallion, so we'll see if he picks that up. And honestly, that would lead right back into Ice Palace. That might be... It looks like it might be exactly what he's doing.
Well, as Khanster has cleared out Eastern Palace before, minus, obviously, Armos, he's going to go ahead and go right into that the big key door. And if you go to your left, you light a torch, it'll make this dark room a whole lot easier.
Yeah, left, right, or straight up. All of them will work. Unfortunately, it looks like he didn't get it. But that hardly matters in this case, as he takes out the enemy with persistence and some sword beams.
That's my strategy, so I feel him.
I like the... Oh, go ahead.
I'm saying yes, indeed, exitzero is going back into Ice Palace. I'm looking forward to the rage slashes that we are going to see when he picks up this bow, because it's just going to happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if he took out some bombs and left them there. Although he only has 7, so maybe he won't do that.
Well, Armos is going to be a really quick fight for Khanster with those silver arrows. Blink and you'll miss it. And so he will have his 5-6 at that point.
And there it goes.
All right, if you're a Khanster, I wonder, do you go to Pyramid Fairy hoping that you're going to find that lamp? I mean, he's maneuvered well without it, but you still have Turtle Rock left, so something that sticks in the back of your head.
The lamp is not going to be in there because Pod was one of the 5-6 dungeons. So that would be illogical.
Right, you are.
So I'm wondering where Khanster is heading. It might be that he's uncomfortable without the lamp and is reluctant to go into Misery Mire or Turtle Rock without it.
That could be it. That absolutely could be it. And again, because exitzero's got that lamp, it gives him a little bit of an edge in that particular case.
It's certainly comforting to have the lamp. Even top runners would prefer to have it, I would imagine, than not, unless it's a case of metagaming, in which case, you're just showing off at that point. Again, come on.
Here we go, checking out the old Batman, seeing what he's got. I think, again, hoping for that lamp, or at least something like the book that may lead him to the lamp.
But we know that's not going to happen.
Maybe he's got Butter Sword. We'll see.
Blue Cane. That could just lead him down another path that is not important. But it'll get him on Death Mountain, which is where he needs to go.
Yeah, once he's on Death Mountain, he has a couple things he could check. He could check Spike Cave with that, and we'll see what he does. But he's going north in Kakariko, so we'll see. Yeah, we will see what he does. But exitzero is going to be momentarily picking up his bow, and so everyone brace for impact.
It looks like Khanster is checking out the Bonk Rocks, which he hasn't done yet, which makes sense.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he does King's Tomb right after, because now that he has the boots, he could do that.
Yeah, but if he's looking for the lamp, again, the lamp's not going to be in there, because not just because we know where the lamp is, but because it can't be, because this was locked by the dark room and Pod, so... See, let this be a lesson to you. I mentioned it before. Take caution when you break logic, because you start getting into some really fun situations of, wait, does this make sense? Does this make sense?
Yeah, to follow the breadcrumb logic is a little bit confusing. But here we go, the bow, and no, takes it graciously and moves on. He may think like no time to fool around. I gotta hurry up because I have a feeling I may be behind.
Yeah, seeing as he was in Ice Palace and could have had the hammer and didn't at the time, that would kind of gnaw at the back of your brain a bit, so totally understandable.
All right, Khanster's on Death Mountain, so here we go. He goes ahead and does, nope, easy come, easy go. Off of Death Mountain he goes.
Oh, has he not checked Misery Mire yet? For the... Like, it doesn't matter, he has all the medallions, but...
Well, he may be thinking that Desert Palace is something here.
Well, as we know, exitzero was here earlier, and Desert Palace was not really anything.
exitzero is about to take on our favorite buddy Cold Stare in Ice Palace, and Yeah, you're right. Khanster is going to be meeting some more disappointment here. But again, this isn't necessarily an unequal time loss because, as we saw before, exitzero did complete this dungeon.
Right, and this is the kind of thing that might give exitzero some time to make a little bit of a comeback. We'll have to see how this plays out. He takes care of that nasty cold stare. One step closer to unlocking Ganon's tower.
All right, well, quick in, quick out of Desert Palace. I think Khanster's just kind of poking around, trying to find. It's got to be the lamp he's looking for at this point. I can't imagine what else he would be looking for.
Yeah, I wonder if he knows how to navigate through the Turtle Rock Dark Room. I imagine maybe not, otherwise he might be headed there. But, I've seen the lamp happen right before that Dark Room in Turtle Rock, so...
Yeah, you know what? I don't blame Khanster. I will say, personally, my lack of good execution of dark rooms, I would absolutely be doing this. I'd be looking for this lamp, and he may have forgotten that he didn't do Hookshot Cave, which of course we know has the book, and lamp is on the tablet, so.
Right. And Khanster might be... is probably not thinking yet, but it might be in the back of his mind that lamp is on the pedestal. He hasn't checked the pedestal. He doesn't have the book, so...
I don't know if I've ever seen. Is it possible for the lamp to be on the pedestal?
I have had that happen before.
So yes, it is. Oh man, that's tragic.
There are a reasonable number of dungeons that without it, so, or according to the logic. So it's entirely possible, and it's very disappointing, unless you're a very seasoned veteran of those dark rooms.
Alright, Khanster going back up to Death Mountain, perhaps remembering that he's got some item-dense locations to check over here. And once he gets that lamp, he's ready to roll. He's in go mode.
Yep, and I imagine he might head on over to Misery Mire first, and then save Turtle Rock for last to kind of save a little bit of time. Not a tremendous amount of time since we're already on Turtle Rock, or on Death Mountain, excuse me. I'm kind of heading toward Turtle Rock, but a little bit of time saved, having to make that walk across from Hera to over here.
He's dipping into Turtle Rock. He may be thinking that this lamp is here.
Well, hopefully he remembers he hasn't gone into Hookshot Cave yet, but we'll see where he goes from here.
So then the question remains, once he gets to a place where he knows the lamp is it's not possible to be found here, does he give it a shot? Does he give that one dark room a shot in T-Rock and hopes that he'll get it right?
Oh, okay, he's headed over to Hookshot Cave, so... But the thing is, will he head on over to the Ether Tablet?
I think that book is going to be a huge trigger for him. I think as soon as he sees it, he's going to know, I'm here. I have a tablet to check. Let's go do that.
Yeah, it's certainly something you'd want to get out of the way before, trying the other option. Now, that dark room in Turtle Rock is not that bad, but if you don't know the trick to it, it can be, you can just get sent around in circles and circles, and it can be very confusing if you get out of sync with what you expect and what's actually happening.
All right, I think we're gonna finally get our tablet check. So that's gonna be good for Khanster. That's gonna be very, very good for him.
All right, and exitzero is will be hot on his heels, but he still has to finish Eastern Palace, and Khanster will have to finish Mire. So this could end up, getting a little close at the end here.
So here's the one variable that I had forgotten about until I was checking over my notes. exitzero does not have those silvers, and that could be what is the game changer at the end for him, and in favor of Khanster, unfortunately, for him.
Right, that is becoming more and more important as we get a little closer together here. So we might just have a heck of a race on our hands here, depending on how things go in Ganon's Tower.
Well, of course, let's not forget the metric of measurement of races, which is amount of Ganon falls. So a Ganon fall could really throw a close race into a nail biter, an edge of the cedar.
Absolutely. Not that I know from experience, but you can have a really close race and have it turn into a not so close a race if you get a little overconfident and fall to Ganon twice. Not that I know that happened ever.
Or like 3 or 4 times, but again, I don't know that either.
Quick anecdote, I saw a race where a runner fell to Ganon, but was hit by a fire bat, died while falling, was revived by a fairy, and didn't fall.
Oh, yeah, that's the best one. You basically have to save and quit at that point, don't you?
No, he was able to continue. It just put him back onto the platform.
Oh, okay, interesting. I think there's a way that you can soft lock in that case somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe in Ganon's arena, the area around the outside isn't wide enough for that to be a problem.
So I believe Khanster still does have that red goo, which is good because gotta be careful. You die in this dungeon. It's a little bit of a hike back to get to Vitreous if that's where you take your downfall.
Yeah, that's kind of the nightmare scenario. This dungeon's probably second worst next to maybe Ice Palace. The Trinexx could be bad too, but there's safety doors that you can go in and out, so...
So it looks like once these runners both take care of their respective dungeons, they're going to both head up to Turtle Rock because as I see from the tracker, they're both crystalled up and that's their last dungeon, which, as you mentioned before, is an ideal last dungeon because it's right near Ganon's Tower.
Right. The only better possible location to finish last is Tower of Hera, but due to the nature of what it takes to get into Tower of Hera and clear it, usually ends up not being your final dungeon.
Alright, well, exitzero is going into Armo. It's not going to be quite as quick of a fight as it was for Khanster with those silver arrows, but it can still wind up being a fairly quick go at this.
Very well done. Oh, and Khanster has a little bit of difficulty lighting the bridges down here, but still gets it.
Ooh, that was close. I was hoping for him that he would get that last torch in time.
You have more time than you think, but it never seems like you have that much time.
Alright, exitzero is heading up to Death Mountain. He's going to go ahead and tackle T-Rock. And he's got some blue goo, which is good, and he's got everything he needs. So we'll see how he does on T-Rock. I don't think he's going to spend a lot of time trying to clear things other than what he needs to, because he does have every item he essentially needs, unless he's looking for those silver arrows.
Yeah, and another thing that we should bring up, he does not have the boots. He had no reason to clear out Palace of Darkness, and so those boots were left unpicked up. You know, they're in the dark room, or one of the dark rooms.
Oh, that's right. So if that key is on that torch, it's gonna be a heartbreaker for exitzero, and I would hate to see that happen to him.
Right, but also, you know, it's a lot easier to get around with those boots. It makes it a whole lot faster in some of those rooms, so...
I mean, when you're in the space of exitzero where you don't have the silvers, do you check, you know, every location in T-Rock, or you just kind of resign yourself to, well, I'm going to be doing silverless Ganon, and that's okay?
If I have the, you know, especially if I have the tempered sword, I'm not super concerned about a silverless Ganon, but I will grab, you know, chests that are like right in front of me. And the thing is, with Turtle Rock, there are not too many chests that you can really skip and feel comfortable. At least until you get to that laser bridge.
Right, and if you're looking for a key on the laser bridge, it may be just worth your time anyways to check some of those other chests, especially because they do have, although no, exitzero does not have any items that would put laser bridge in logic.
Yeah, that's true. Although we have seen the 3 shields pop up, and Khanster does have the Cane of Brian, but...
I think in logic was the wrong term. I'll say doable instead, because it is in logic, because you're right, we do have the Cane of Brian, so it is technically in logic. It just, unless you do laser skips, which a lot of people do opt to do.
Yeah, it's usually not too big a problem for a lot of runners, but we'll have to see what exitzero opts for. Maybe he'll just skip laser bridge entirely. Maybe use the dash, or he can't dash, so that's an issue. But you can still navigate around those beams, just a little bit more difficult.
Ooh, and yes, of course, everyone's favorite room is the Chain Chomp room, but he did very well in the Chain Chomp room, only getting hit once, and usually I have a whole masher's ball with them when I'm in there.
Oh, they can be such a pain. This is why I'll usually take a little extra time to have them attack me in such a position where I can actually go about my business. So I'll have to see if exitzero decides to... does he have the big key yet?
I don't believe I saw him pick it up. I think that it's going to be in that chest, and it's vanilla chests.
Well, then never mind. He'll probably be checking that big chest, too. It's usually if I have the big key chest and I happen to be in go mode, I'll go ahead and skip this right here.
Well, he must have picked it up, because there's a small key.
Indeed. Yeah, so in this case, if I have the big key, I'd probably just pick up the key from the pokey and then just go about my business and hope that I find another key along the way. Chances are, you know, you don't have a key in both the lava chest and in the big chest.
Right, and so yeah, I would absolutely agree with that move of just kind of picking up the key from the pokey, moving on. But you know, he may again be casually looking for those silvers, so you know that might be the reasoning behind that chest check.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I can't blame him either. The silvers are a nice find. You know, there might be other stuff like, you know, maybe there's half magic along the way or something like that. That could turn out to save a little bit of time.
Yeah, finding half magic for exitzero would be a very, very helpful find. It would really help with Silverless Ganon, put him a little bit more at ease, and you know, he may find Cape, and that's another safety that's nice to have in Ganon. Although with half magic, it's a little bit even nicer.
Right, but you know, those things might be hanging out in Ganon's tower, and we might never see them. So. I'm just thinking, one of my favorite seeds I had was, I didn't have silver arrows and I was in Ganon's tower, and the big key was in the tile room. And I checked all the rest of the chests, and then Ganon told me that silvers were in Ganon's tower.
Oh, come on.
So it was in the big chest.
Oh, that's, see, talk about sick joke seeds. There it is, right there.
It was so funny. I couldn't help. I couldn't be mad. It's pretty good. But exitzero having a little bit of frustration at that chest there. Evidently did not have what he was hoping.
So as both runners approach the 2-hour mark, you know, in the back of their head, they gotta be thinking, where's my opponent? It's around the 2-hour mark. You know, a lot of runners who have run this race a few times start to get close to wrapping up, depending on the seed, depending on if it's a pedestal seed, an aghanim seed. So I would imagine both of them are starting at a point of, you know, waiting for the done button to be hit on SRTV, waiting and waiting and waiting. So this is where you're going to start to see maybe some of those nerves kick in.
Yeah, indeed. Both of these runners have a few things that are probably eating at the back of their minds now that, you know, it's getting near the end here. You know, Khanster was looking around for stuff in dark rooms when, you know, turned out what he needed was not there at all, and you know, exitzero made that double dip into Ice Palace. You know, I mean, hindsight is 20/20, but you know, it also makes you concerned. You know, maybe my opponent is ahead.
Well, exitzero opening up that back safety door, which I think is a great move. He's looking for that key and laser bridge. Oh, and taking the death.
Yeah, very sensible taking that safety, because with no safeties and trying to find a key here, and maybe some silvers or something, which unfortunately we know he's not going to get. You know, having that backup strat is kind of important there.
Well, with the disappointing news that laser bridge did not hold, I'm sure, the item that he wanted, exitzero is making his way to the Trinexx fight, as is Khanster. Khanster, I imagine, is going to find that key, and he's going to go ahead and progress on, because cannot be anything else that he'd be looking for at this point, unless he really wants that butter sword.
Right, so yeah, in case you missed it, we did have a little bit of a virtual high five.
All right, well, exitzero going into the Trinexx fight and with Tempered Sword and Red Mail, not super scary, and just got to be a little bit economical with your magic, but with Tempered Sword, it's pretty quick to take out those heads.
Yep, should take 5 hits to the fireside. Oh, and there goes the ice side too. Ice side takes damage from the fire rod as well, so it can be a little weird at first when you notice that one side seemed to have taken more damage than the other. But Trinexx is down.
That was a quick second cycle for exitzero, second phase rather. But again, Khanster with those boots, with those silvers, I think a little slight edge here, but we'll see what happens because Ganon's Tower really could change the game in many ways.
Right, it's going to be coming down to execution, and you know the fact that exitzero does not have those boots is going to change up some of his strategies. So you know we'll have to see how long exitzero can remain in the lead, because Khanster has quite the advantage.
Seems to be taking a good long think here in the entrance to Turtle Rock. I hope everything's okay and he's just kind of thinking this one through.
Maybe he's taking a bathroom break. I wouldn't blame him. It's been 2 hours and okay, well, Khanster is headed right on over there. And exitzero has come back and is heading there as well.
All right, well, Erase It has kind of led us in a lot of different directions, double dipping and lampless rooms and all sorts of things have now led us back to a converged seed with both runners entering Ganon's Tower just seconds apart.
Indeed. And, you know, like I mentioned before, it's gonna come down to execution.
All right, well, Khanster doing the right side here. exitzero, we'll see in just a moment. I'm crossing my fingers for exitzero that this... Oh, big key guessing game. How did we forget the big key guessing?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Well, you know, it was so quick.
Well, get your guesses in chat, I suppose. Just don't guess one or two at this point.
Well, you know what? This is this is an ALTTP randomizer one, so it's, you know, there's no bot here to help us out, or leaderboards or anything. So this is all just for funsies here.
Well, good news for exitzero is that big key is not in the torch, so that is very, very good news for him. I guess that officially puts us all in Engo mode, so to speak. So we'll see where this big key is now.
Yep, Khanster's checking out this Stalfos room here, and exitzero's shortly behind.
There it is, and if my count is correct, that is lucky number 7.
I believe so. So yeah, exitzero is a little lagging behind a little bit here. But, you know, depending on how these runners can execute in the gauntlet, you know, that could change at any time. So, you know, don't write anyone off yet.
And of course, exitzero, I believe, still has that blue goo safety. I don't know if Khanster still has the red goo safety. If he doesn't, he's got to be careful because a death going up Ganon's Tower is a huge time loss.
I believe he might have used that red goo in Misery. But both our runners do have the magic powder, so they can take advantage of that in certain places. And we can see, you know, just how much these boots matter in rooms like these, where exitzero had to kind of just slowly walk on up. Khanster taking out these gauntlet rooms very nicely, as is exitzero. Oh, but exitzero wants some of those arrows.
Yeah, it's important to have, it's, you know, without the silvers, to have those arrows, I don't think you're going to need them for anything else, but it's never a bad insurance policy to have if you want to use them on other enemies.
Oh, Khanster missing the arrows on on Landmo. It's getting late here, okay?
When you do use the powder for that the Vimos, it does throw the Lamos into a bit of a frenzy in terms of not being able to plan super well for their defeat. So, but did a nice job in both runners. Working their own strategies to get this done. It looks like exitzero was trying for the fire rod, ran out of magic, but that's all right. He's gonna do sword spins instead, and gets his win there.
Yeah, Tempered Sword makes short work of those Landmos, so... But now he doesn't have that much magic, so we'll have to be careful with his magic usage. And another room that shows just how unfortunate it is to not have those boots.
And exitzero is being very safe with his magic consumption. He's opting not to do Khanster786 in the Wizrobe room, which is, I believe, in my opinion, a very smart decision on his part.
Yeah, there are 2 small magic potions in this room, and yeah, he's going right for one of them.
Guess he must be saving Blue Goo because he knows that he's going to be attempting the serverless Ganon fight, and having Blue Goo is very helpful, especially to light those torches.
And Khanster skipping the 2 chests in the mini Helmasaur room. So he might think that he's behind and has no time left, and, he is closer to the right than he probably wishes he is.
Nice Moldorm 2. No trolling for Moldorm, and Moldorm 2 for Khanster. Saying no thank you to that last chest. Infuriating all. No, infuriating none. But exitzero is checking these last chests. I think he's still hoping for those silvers, hoping beyond all hope.
Yeah, understandably so, but he's not going to be finding them, unfortunately. And we enter the Aghanim 2 fight on Khanster's side.
Aghanim 2, an absolute masterclass in geometry as we work those angles to get our victory.
One more hit left. And there it goes. And exitzero takes out Moldorm, no problem.
All right, well, we're into the Ganon fight now, and these races are close. And I wouldn't put all hope into silver arrows for Khanster because of all the Ganon. I hate to say it because there goes the commentator's curse. Could really change the pace.
Yes, it could. And make sure to get your whole grain products.
I take all my health advice from evil pigmen.
Well, he just wants to not be bacon, I guess. Who could blame him?
Nice use of that hook shot for Khanster to avoid those fire bats. That was a really nice use there. And he is going into... Oh, I thought maybe he was going to make it into phase 3, but we have one more phase 2. He's got to be very careful. He's going to use that red goo, and I think that's a smart move on his part.
Indeed, and exitzero easily finishing off Aghanim 2. But Khanster has Ganon in the 3rd phase, and that's not going to last very long. Ganon. There we go.
You always hate to see those million teleports.
Oh, Khanster does not get the torch glitch, but it shouldn't matter a whole lot. This is a good time for a double, which he gets. And just one more to go.
We almost got that double, but I think he's gonna wrap this thing up very shortly.
Yes, very close on that last one too, but not quite getting that sword hit. And Ganon takes the 4th arrow, and Khanster finishes up.
GG's to Khanster786. In just a moment, we will report to you his speed racing TV time.
And that time is 2 hours, 10 minutes, 17 seconds. GG.
A winner is you, Khanster. Nice job. And as Khanster takes the victory here, giving our energies to exitzero for a silverless Ganon, which he has just started the final phase.
And he got the torch glitch, so this affords him a little bit more time to hit Ganon, so... Well, before he runs out of magic, I should say.
All right, we're gonna see if maybe Khanster wants to come in for an interview as we watch exitzero take on Ganon.
Exitzero's not having any problems with the silverless here. He's not getting it in as many hits as he'd probably like, but still handling the situation admirably.
Yeah, silverless Ganon can be a bit tricky. It's something that, takes some time to learn, takes some time to really perfect the execution. So he's doing a nice job. He's getting a little close to that ledge. I'm just hoping we keep going forward here.
Oh no!
I should have kept my mouth shut. See, here it is. That one's on me. That one's on me. We do have Khanster in the waiting room, so as soon as we get him dragged over to our Discord, we will start our interview with him as giving our energies to exitzero, because it is never a good feeling to fall on a silverless Ganon fight.
I imagine he might have seen his opponent finish and probably had like a little blip where he lost concentration or something. I wouldn't blame him at all. That seeing something like that can throw you off a little bit. GG, Khanster.
Oh god.
So, it sounds like you have something to say, so why don't you go ahead and say what you want?
So, I had no idea where the lamp was.
We kind of figured that. We were kind of wondering, like, you were checking like places that were blocked by dark rooms, which I was trying to figure out what was going on there. Maybe he had like some nerves or something, but it was kind of interesting there.
Yeah, because I'm like, I have bow. I'm like, okay, guess it's time to go to Pod and Eastern. I'm like, I don't have lamp, but I've got enough hearts that I can make it through.
Ooh, if I could just break in very quickly, we had a death from exitzero. He's holding off on that game over screen. I'm hoping maybe he's gonna finish it up, but we'll see. And after the victory, we'll see. I wouldn't blame him for calling it on this one.
So did he make the jump to what's it called, Death Mountain as soon as he got gloves?
He waited a little bit. You went up there first, which I commented was a probably a good play, and it ended up getting you the mirror and 2 sword upgrades and a couple other things that seemed to really be like it seemed like it was a really good move. And he kind of came later up to Death Mountain and cleared some more stuff, and he ended up getting that lamp a lot earlier, which I guess was a little bit of a deal breaker there. But you found the boots up in that dark room which you were navigating, despite not having the lamp, and I think the boots might have kind of clutched it for you a little bit there.
So so I'm assuming he waited till he had the lamp to go into the pod in Eastern.
He had the lamp early enough, I think, that the decision wasn't much of a difficult or late one for him. So I don't think that divergent decision was ever a thing. I think he just had the lamp early enough that it just happened.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he cleared out Hera, and he happened to already have the book, and so he just went right over and got that lamp.
Yeah, I did Hera as soon as I could.
GG, exitzero. I'm sorry. Sorry that it ended in the way it did, but you put up a good fight.
I'm so tilted.
So what happened with your run?
I just felt like I made all the wrong decisions. When I went up to Death Mountain without the fluid or the lamp, it just kind of messed me up. And then I just made all the wrong decisions from there, I think.
Yeah, as soon as we got both gloves, I made the jump for Death Mountain.
Yeah, I did it. I went up. What did I do? I don't even remember.
Well, one of the things that you did was you cleared out Thieves Town, but you didn't have the hammer.
Yeah. And apparently the silver arrows were there in that one chest. Oh man.
Yes, they were, unfortunately, and so that and I imagine the silvers were what you were looking for in Ganon when you were still opening up stuff.
Yeah, I was hoping to find them there.
Yeah, unfortunately, that hammer was a tough block item for you, exitzero. I mean, and I've been in your space where you go into Ice Palace and it's in the back. It's not really in the forefront that I need that hammer to wrap it up. And I've gotten to where you've gotten, and you're like, oh man, I need the hammer. I got to dip out now.
Yeah, there's only like one way to do Ice Palace, and if I don't have like all the items or if I mess up, I have no idea how to continue Ice Palace. I just got to practice it some more, I think.
Like, I kind of was thinking early on to make the play for Ice Palace, but I'm like, I don't have hammer. So if there is anything in like the back half, I would have to make a double dip.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, I was like checking Overworld, so I'm like, I hope this doesn't bite me later.
Once I got the fire rod in Hot Cave, I was like, do I go down to Ice Palace or do I double dip back into Skull Woods?
Yeah, that was the same thing. I'm like, because I went to I did Skull Woods, and then I checked Hype Cave, and I'm like, really?
Yeah. That was a pretty trolly scene.
Yeah. Like, I did make like a lot of overworld plays before heading into Thieves, which did pay off, because I found Hammer.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting to watch you two play the same seed, because you were crisscrossing a lot. Like, as Khanster mentioned, he went up into Death Mountain relatively early. exitzero came a little bit later and got more information and ended up picking up more items. So we were thinking, like, who got the best deal out of this? It's hard to say. And so and then exitzero went to Mire and cleared that out relatively quickly, and he had the lamp, and Khanster opted for Ice Palace because he had the hammer. It was really kind of interesting to see everything just kind of happen in different ways, and it all kind of came together at Turtle Rock, where you actually virtually high-fived each other a couple times.
Yeah, I really had to go to the bathroom after T-Rock. It was really bad.
I saw your pause there, and that's what we were figuring.
I really had to go.
It happens.
Yeah, I've been there, so.
Yeah, like I was thinking like what might have sealed my fate is getting stuck in that dark room in pod because I couldn't find the way. I was kind of stuck. Like the one dark room maze. I was like, where is the opening? Because I keep clinking the wall. I'm like, it's here somewhere.
And getting stuck in that dark maze, I was saying to my co-commentator here, is that once you're lost and you lose kind of your perspective on where you are, it really is difficult to find your way back to a logical path.
Yeah, so I said, screw it. If there is something of value, it may fuck me in the ass, but I'm not coming back. I'm just gonna get the 2 items. I'm gonna get the big chest and the one down south, and I'm leaving.
Well, that did give you the boots, and that might have helped clutch it for you, so.
Where were the boots?
They were in the dark maze, the bottom chest in pod.
Oh, I skipped the whole back half of pod. I just
Oh,
I was
so
in go
you were-
mode, so I just went through it.
Yeah, at that point I wasn't in go mode, so I figured I'm not in go mode. If something does mess me over, oh well.
Well, yeah, the thing that interests me was maybe you were a little tilted at that point, but yeah, I think the item you were looking for was a lamp, and you were going through dark rooms, and I'm like, wait a second, or is there something else you're looking for? Which, you know, as far as I know, maybe you were looking for like half magic or something, but it was kind of curious, so we were wondering.
I didn't have lamps, so I'm just like, I have bow, I can clear them. I'm gonna clear them.
So it's just a matter of, you know, picking up everything and being thorough.
Like pod, because I run MMG, it's kind of somewhat ingrained in my head. I know what's where for the most part.
Right.
Like Eastern is still ingrained. Though there's just a few spots I can't do dark room. The only dark room I would have been scared of is the one in Mire. Those 3 dark rooms.
Yeah, those are not fun. No one wants to do those. Really, I guess unless they're really good at them. But then I'd be curious as to why exactly.
So how close were we leading up to Ganon?
Both of you were at the entrance to Turtle Rock after beating Trinexx at the same time.
Oh, that's pretty close.
Jeez.
Yeah, but Khanster had the boots, which helped speed things up a little bit, and the silver arrows, which.
Oh. Dang, you got the silver arrows? Damn. I was trying to do silverless, and I just got to practice that some more too.
Yeah, I was like, because I was counting, I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, there's one. It's like, either there's an item in Blind's cell, or there's an item in the big chest. Luckily, I had the hammer at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why you had the hammer was because of that early trip up to Death Mountain, which got you the Mire. And so you cleared out some overworld areas before heading in. And that's what led to that situation. Whereas exitzero, you went a little bit later to Death Mountain, like after you had done the Thieves Town check, and me and my co-commentator, we said like, there's no chance you're going back in at that point, basically.
Yeah. I went like
Thieves Town.
Go ahead.
Say Thieves Town, that chest that's blocked by Hammerpeg. It's hard to really get the gumption to go back once you've left it behind. And I mean, fortunately, there was a really good item there, but most of the time it's one of those things that stick in the back of your head. But you know, it's nothing that you never really want to go back for.
So did either of us find all 4 swords? I know I didn't.
I
do
only
not-
got tempered.
We do not know where that fourth sword is. It might be in Ganon's tower or something.
Did he check on Fat Fairy at all?
Nope.
That might be there too.
Yeah, I think for quite some time I had 0 bottles, so I was getting a little scared.
I got a bottle somewhere pretty early on.
It was in
It
that
was-
waterfall cave right by Zora, I
Oh.
believe was that first bottle you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did the fake flipper there, and
And then I
got
saw
that.
the sword on the sword on Zora's ledge. And then I went into Easter and got the flippers. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I have to go back up there. that really sucked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I didn't check Zora till much later because I started doing dungeons and overworld stuff. I'm like, do I really bet on Zora? Because it never seems like a logical play to bet on Zora.
It usually isn't, but you know, every once in a while we'll have, you know, Moon Pearl or something, and you know, just gotta get it. So
I have one last question for you guys. One thing I always like to ask our runners is one thing that you learned from the seed that you'll do differently next time. One thing that really is kind of sticking in the front of your mind after you've run this seed that you'll change for your next run.
It's kind of hard to say because you don't know exactly what's gonna happen, what your starting item's gonna be, what you'll have. I just go based on what I have and make my decision upon there.
I think I just need to work on my routing more. And need to figure out what Ice Palace is, like how to do everything under like different situations.
well,
Um,
GG to both of our runners for a really great race. It was unfortunate that exitzero had to bow out there, but still very exciting, really up to the end there.
yeah, GG. This trolley seed. Oh,
It happens to all of us. This is the 3rd trolley seat I've gotten.
my other seeds were okay. I just wasn't good enough, I guess. It's pretty solid. GG buds.
Well, you both played excellently, and really impressed with the show you put on today. And to the chat, if you liked the show that you put on today, and why didn't you, and why couldn't you, and how couldn't you? You follow these runners on Twitch; they're both fantastic. And I would also like to thank our restreamer, Iceman F1 and B-Links, our tracker. Excellent behind-the-scenes folks, working hard to bring you the action. And I also want to finally thank my co-commentator, DVO. Thank you for an amazing time for the past couple of hours, and I hope we cross paths again.
Well, I thank you very much. And also, while you're at it, you know, you might want to check out the Profa Gamer on Twitch as well. It was a lot of fun. I hope we do this again sometime.
Absolutely, and certainly don't go too far, our audience. There is a race that has just started on ALTTPR, the original, Sage Lord 38 versus Invictus 2011. We're going to be closing off the night here at 11:30 on Speed Gaming. We have Song Leaves versus Bent Glass Tube. And then, of course, all weekend, we are just jam-packed with randomizer action on Speed Gaming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I believe 6 is now up and running. And then ALTTPR 1 original, and 2, 3, and 4.
Sounds like a jam-packed weekend.
Well, the entire week is pretty jam-packed. We got, you know, 200 and some races to do.
And you don't have the manpower. So did he check validation?
Yeah, I don't, there was nothing important there.
I refuse to check it as an NMG run. I refuse.
I was hoping for the silvers.
All right, well, you all both earned a fantastic rest period. So I think we're going to wrap up our stream here. Wish you guys the best into your next round of the tournament. And again, follow these runners. And thank you to everyone for coming out this evening to watch another great ALTTPR Spring Randomizer Standard Open Standard Tournament. And we hope to see you again on one of the Speed Gaming channels or ALTTPR.
All right. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye bye.
See ya.